Dusu Sanjay Guru Rimpa Cheng Adrakanda Dewa Chemba Sha Mache Kansel Duda Drapa Sah Sawada Sul Shinki So Nina Samwe Mache Shivada Sampa Lunji Drapa Shikila. Buddha of the three times, past embodiment of Buddha of the past three times, past, present, future, Lotus Guru, source of all spiritual accomplishments and progress and inner development, source of healing, all that afflicts us, outer, physical, inner, emotional, mental, and subtly at the ultimate spiritual level. Bless us, transform us, push back this plague, this pandemic that's afflicting us today, this year. Free us from harm, fear, and danger. Remove all obstacles, clear the path, open the way. To you and you alone and pray, like your only child. We pray like your only child. Turn this way, Lama Surya. Please transmit your transcendent wisdom, awareness, and unconditional love, and dynamism, compassion, and action to us, so we may be vessels, vehicles, conduits of it into the world for a better world, better future, the future that begins right now. Sanshangulu Jibeneza said, Miza Dunga, Nankinampana, Yene takes a mepaso with that boy, Jimengi La Yamepe, says in Mayan butching a pasol, urgent payment, John Nilaso with that sample lungi, Draposh Kilo, praying to master, father like figure, archetype of the 9 yanas, 3 yanas, Padmasambhava. Help us purify our karma and kaleshas, nurture nature, transform, transmute ourselves, transforming and transmuting all beings and the whole world altogether. Tayatam Begazi Maha Begazi Raza Samad Gati Soha. It's a medicine Buddha mantra. Tayatam Begazi Maha Begazi Raza Begazi Maha Begazi Raza Soha. Nrube Guru Sanjay Da, Driver isn't Chembage, Driver Chintan Nasana, Tawa Devsa Shingila, China Sawi Bachi So, Sampayishin Dribuda, Chutan Tumanga Druso. Obstacle removing, path accomplishing, aspiration fulfilling. Sacred archetype, higher power in whatever form we see you, Padmasambhava, Yeshe Sogel, the Buddha of compassion, Chenrezi, Avalokiti, Kuan Yin, etc. Vajrakalaya, the ultimate path clearer, and city accomplisher. We offer to all the Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma protectors, the 5 sacred meats, and the 5 nectars representing the 5 senses, 5 skandhas. Maintaining Samaya bonds with Vajrakalaya, magic dagger. May all beings attain the 5 kayas, the full rainbow body, Buddhahood. And pray with me, join with us in praying for this plague to be handled, this pestilence to be removed from the people and the beings, the path to be cleared, our obstacles to be removed, aspirations accomplished. May we all enjoy Kunta Zampo's Pure Land, a Buddha Field, the Holy Now. All good. Samanta Bhadra, Princess Ampo. Primordial Buddha-ness in you, Buddha nature, human nature, your true nature. Imaho. And feeling with others today, feeling what they feel, being moved to help as we can, including by social spaciousness and retreating in place and taking care of ourselves and the young'uns who depend on us. With heart, in the heart, with love, with patience, patience, paramita, shanti, acceptance. Acceptance has its own transformative magic. Not complacence, but acceptance can transform a relationship. May all beings be happy, free, liberated, and realize autonomy within interdependence. May all be healed and whole again, and this planet be rebalanced and healed and whole. And may we all together enjoy the great confection. Imaho. I see I have some questions here from people, from you. Some of them even have names attached, which is cool. So it looks like we have a question here about sadness. Jesse says it's difficult to deal with sadness, being detached, being alone. I see these emotions, they exhaust me. I know my true inner Buddha nature is happy and sad, but it still affects me, and I'm hoping to learn more about the latter. So Jesse and all of us can relate to this, I'm sure. That's why we practice mindful awareness and work on ourselves, Jesse. Not just to be more self-centered, but the introspection. Self-awareness leads to self-knowledge and balances off our incredible external orientation that we learn through socialization process and growing up in school and everything else, and how important relationships are in life. So important in family and community, and your relation to whatever may be beyond yet imminent in all of us. If I practice noticing the oscillations of happiness and sadness in my mind, but my awareness is a much bigger graph, like the third dimension, that the brainograph is, I used to know the word, is is oscillating on. If you push a pencil right through the paper that the brainograph is showing, you get to the awareness component, which includes all, and we can observe more mindfully and somewhat detachedly what's going on with awareness, which is different than thinking. You could even be aware you're not thinking. So I like to look into who or what is thinking, who or what is sad. And that reminds me that the sadness is so temporary and it's just a feeling. Of course, feelings are important, and to healthily process this, we need to face them and integrate them. perhaps work on them, perhaps just let them go by in meditation and work on them later in our journaling, in our inner work, in our therapy, or with our loved ones or whoever we share these things with. But I think this mindful emotional management or mindful anger management, mindful emotional management is so crucial, bringing the point of intentional awareness, the wedge of mindful awareness in between the stimulus that you think is making you sad and the conditioned response, the knee-jerk response or reaction, the knee-jerk reaction. So if we're aware right then, it's just a moment of happy or sad, then we can enjoy it, but we can be in it but not of it, as the spiritual saying goes, and still have a bigger perspective on it. And I found that extremely liberating. And that's how I found patient forbearance, for example, the third paramita, by being in the bigger picture and observing everything that comes up in the snow globe of the body-mind awareness continuum. So I hope that's helpful. My own late Dzogchen master and mentor, Nyoshi Kempo Rinpoche, you can read about him in books or online or, et cetera, my books with him, Natural Great Perfection, et cetera, his songs and teachings. He used to say that the vagaries of course in Tibetan, I'm translating this, the vagaries and oscillations of human emotions are like the sun and the shadows playing over the Himalayan peaks. And the sun and the shadows continues to change. And not to get too elated about sun on the shining ivory peak, and not to get too sad or down about obscurations, clouds, mist, and that's on those ivory peaks. The ivory peaks, of course, metaphor here for happiness, and the dark for sadness, just a metaphor. So that helps you remember this too shall pass, which is a great American Buddhist mantra. Of course, Buddha said it. We can repeat it to ourselves also, this too shall pass, and remember the long run, and cultivate more patience and mindful awareness. So I hope that's helpful. Jeff, do we have any other questions? I have a few here. Do we have any fresh ones, perhaps relating to today?
Yes, we had a question this morning from Forrest about, do you have any tips for practicing dream yoga, is one. A second question, how to quiet the mind from fear to get the virus, or a loved one to get it, how to prevent, yeah.
Well, I'm going to skip over the dream yoga one, because that's a much bigger, deeper Vajrayana teaching, and I have a whole product on it you can get from Sounds True, an enhanced DVD or a streaming thing called Tibetan Dream Yoga, which was very popular with Sounds True. It was my most popular offering that came through Sounds True Publishing, Tibetan Dream Yoga. And you can also read Andrew Holacek's book about it, or Namkhai Norbu Rinpoche's book about it, or Geshe Tenzin Wangyal's book about it. And I'm sure they also have YouTube's streamings and things. I'm just, I know the book man. Love books. How to deal with the fears of contracting the new virus, coronavirus 19, etc., or our loved ones will get it. I don't know. It's challenging. I cope by practicing social spaciousness, by washing my hands a lot and following the guidelines as much as I can, which may not be my specialty usually. By staying informed without falling into being a news junkie, but paying attention to what's going on in the constantly shifting landscape, and learning what to do, what not to do, and taking the usual measures as appropriate. And if you look at the facts, which I don't want to go into now, and I can hardly retain numbers anymore, but it seems like even if one gets it, it doesn't have the highest fatality rate, so you'll probably be able to deal with it. And I don't know how old you are, some of us are in the endangered category because of our breathing issues or age or for other reasons, or we are in harm's way working in the health system and still going to work in those places, like my doctor friends and nurse friends and others. I think, if you are staying home or taking care of yourself and use the handy wipes and etc. I mean, somebody even told me it's good to wear glasses or sunglasses when you're in public near people, because it will keep any droplets from getting in your eyes, which is another portal of entrance for these kind of viruses. But I think the main question, spiritually speaking, that I would like to address, you can ask the Surgeon General, Doctor, I can't remember his name, who's always on TV, the good guy with the Indian name, the American guy. I can't remember anything, so you shouldn't even ask me any facts. But you can get your information there. But what I do want to address is how to deal with the fear. Again, mindful emotional management is good. Mindful emotional regulation, not suppressing it, not even trying to get rid of it. Looking at it head on with your incandescent awareness, with mindfulness, with paying attention, not denial, not pretending, not putting your head in the sand and having your ass up in the cyclone wind and hoping it'll pass over. It won't, it'll carry you just away. So I think it's important to bring awareness to the fear and see what you're really afraid of. Of course, probably afraid of dying, afraid of suffering. You're afraid your loved ones will catch it and die or suffer or spread it, you know, and so on. Of course, that's natural, and we will have the survival instinct. But there's more, could be more to this than that. Practicing skillfully and intelligently with emotional intelligence, with the emotions, dealing with the fear. Like I said, see what you're really afraid of, which brings awareness to it and distances it a little from the blind knee-jerk reaction phase of hearing stimulation and getting upset. Why didn't we do this early? What's wrong with, and blaming. Of course, we have to deal with things systemically and by voting and other things, but be informed citizen, not news junkie, and cultivate awareness of these fears. And I think you can get to the bottom of it. We don't want to get rid of fears and the other conflicting or abrasive emotions. Some people call them negative emotions, places. The other, you know, it's just a part of survival instinct. We're supposed to feel fear when there's a danger and leap into action, or pay attention at least. So when you feel fear, bring the attention to it. Awareness is curative. It doesn't mean suppressing it. And take the measures necessary. It's like worry. The Dalai Lama likes to talk about this. So worry and fear and really expectation go together. If you can do something about it, what you're afraid of, do it. If you can't, there's not much point in worrying about it. And that may be simplistic for our purposes here, but it's a good caricature of the cartoon that we find ourselves in. So being informed, we find out what we can do. And as for the rest, we have to let go and let whatever happens, happens, and do what we can, moment to moment. And also be flexible and adaptable as things, the landscape seems to be evolving and changing almost every day. So thanks for that question. And of course, some of us are sad, not just sad, some are lonely, some are alone, some may be sick with other things of the winter or of their condition in life. These are all things that we have to deal with, and fear of death and suffering and pain of us and our loved ones, prominent among them. And it's not just us. So I think this is a good example of what they've been calling in sociology and in some spiritual circles, the power of one. This is an example where one can really make a difference. You may wonder if your vote matters, and I do think it matters, and it's important to vote and be an informed citizen, not just a complainer or a ostrich dropout, as I mentioned before, just stick one's head in the sand. But it's important to be an engaged Buddhist, not an enraged Buddhist, engaged in this great work of awakening together and caring for each other and cultivating empathic compassion for those who are suffering, and even who are suffering more than us. And when you feel with others, when you feel it, you might well start resonating with them and be moved to help in a way that is meaningful, not just be a busybody, which sometimes just raises the dust and makes more trouble. Do-gooders trying to help all the time, even those who don't need or want to help. So I think the awareness component, bringing attention to it, is so important, and especially these days. Of course, we're all afraid of dying, and we could well look into even right now, who or what is afraid? Is it our body that's afraid? What's our body made of? But the 5 elements, as we say in Buddhism, or the 5 skandhas, just the components of individuality. You can look it up. the 5 heaps, the 5 aggregates, the 5 skandhas. But really, it's our inner being or mind or psyche or ego or self that's afraid of those things. So if we look into in this moment, who or what has experienced it, or who or what is afraid, or who or what is sad, or who or what is lonely, I find it very liberating. It puts me in touch with my own highest intuition about the interconnectedness and the oneness and the interbeing I'm part of, that we're all part of. This is an important point. This is called self-inquiry. And it's part of many spiritual traditions. The who am I, the who is experiencing, to cut through the miasma and kind of the gelling web of claustrophobic paranoia or separateness, and see through the illusion of separateness. Even on the road, when somebody cuts me off or does something, I feel this upsurge of anger, but I look into who or what, and it helps me cut through it before it devolves into rage or road rage, or I do anything stupid. And it reminds me, I don't know everything about this situation, and we never do really. Maybe that person is a first responder hurrying to some emergency they've been called to. Maybe they have a pregnant, birthing mother in the back, or a bleeding child they rush into the hospital. So if we knew everything about any of these situations that push our buttons, that help, that contribute to our inner kaleshas or abrasive emotions stirring up, it's a good moment to look with self-inquiry into who or what is stirred up. Why is part of it, but look into the how. So you cut through how it's happening right now before you get into the why. Where did the arrow come from and who made it? And all that, who else might be at fault? Do we have another good question, Jeff? Oh, I see one here from James. James, is that your real name? Just joking, because we're online here. And I don't usually do this in this way. How can I use the current situation to ramp up my own practice? Great question, James. Is that you? I see you. The Dalai Lama likes to quote the Lojong tradition, the mind training attitude transformation tradition, Lojong, by saying the enemy or the difficulty can be our greatest teachers. So this is a good opportunity to practice that and use the Dharma medicine about how to lessen and get free from our afflictions. Well, there's a real affliction, a pestilence, an epidemic or pandemic around. I remember Tinley Norbu Rinpoche, the late, great Tinley Norbu, who used to live in New York and Palm Springs, California. His Holiness Dudjom Rinpoche's oldest son, Tinley Norbu, used to say, if you can meditate on a traffic island in the middle of one of the big avenues in New York, you can be awake or aware anywhere. So what he was saying was just picking out New York is like a challenge. If you think you're going to be sattvic and peaceful and retired to the country to meditate or to pray or to write poetry or journal, that's fine if and when we can do it. But most of the time, we're lay people in the world. We have a family life, a work life, a social life, a communal life, a political life, a sex life, a money life, and so on. So we have to integrate the Dharma into our daily life if we feel it's incumbent on us to do so. I'm not saying everybody has to do what I say. We who are on this path, who have the Bodhisattva orientation or vow, who are seeking the way, who are on the way of awakening, who are truth seekers, we have to integrate it into every moment of daily life, at home, at work, not just on Sunday in church or Saturday in synagogue. So it's a great opportunity to ramp up your practice of empathic compassion and mindful, attentive awareness about everything you do with your hands and your face and your mouth and your tissues and your Lysol wipes and, whatever you're doing, and the food and packages you bring into the house. I mean, it's really like a mindfulness retreat, being more, why should we call it the clamp down or lockdown? How about a little retreat or a step back, a kind of awareness, a mindful vacation? That would really enhance our practice. As they say, Buddha said, if you understood the dukkha, the suffering gross and subtle beings in this world, you would practice as if your hair was on fire. My commentary. Yeah, you drop whatever you were doodling with and start putting it out if your hair was on fire. So it's a good time to feel the burn. Not that we enjoy it, but remember the manure principle, tracing back to the great Trungpa Rinpoche, such a tantric principle. Chogyam Trungpa said, it's like making shit into manure, fertilizer. We know how to do this, and there's plenty of shit coming down to do it with. So that's how we can use a difficult situation to ramp up our practice. Of course, you can ramp it up in other ways, by praying, meditating, yogaing, awareing, journaling, being honest, giving as you can, and so on. But I'm not just interested in quantity of mantras or hours. I'm interested in quality of awareness and attention and cultivating the good heart, not just the busybodiness. I'm trying to stay away from too much media right now. Well, I hope you're paying attention to what's going on that you need to know without being a news junkie. What do you recommend I read? Oh, yes, another person who admires antiques, such as books. Maybe he means listen to on audio, sound, or iTunes. Who knows what he means? Anyway, it says read to help support and improve my practice. You know, this is such an interesting question. Some say their life was changed when they walked in a bookstore and were looking at a book fell on, hit them on the head or the shoulder. I'm sure you've all heard that. I have too. It's funny. Then they look into that book and then they buy it and their life has changed. It's hard to find a bookstore these days, and anyway, we're told not to gather. So perhaps you have some things ready to read, or you can look them up on the web or order them. I suppose Amazon will deliver it. I don't really know. And you can spray it with whatever you have before taking it into the house. There's so much good to read. It depends where you're at. What should I tell you? The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, to pass the time. Couldn't put it down. The Little Prince, my favorite book in the world, probably. Check it out or read it to kids. The Little Prince, I must have read it 20 times. It's a real bodhisattva tale. Translated from the French by Saint-Exupéry. What do you like to read? I don't know. I'm proud of my books. I work hard at that. The last new one is the kids' book, the Yeti and the Jolly Lama, A Tale of Friendship. But the one right before that is full of Dzogchen integration teachings, Bokden, for bringing it into daily life, called Make Me One with Everything, Seeing Through the Illusion of Separateness. I should recommend somebody else's book. Thich Nhat Hanh has so many. The Dalai Lama, The Art of Happiness. I don't know. It depends where your practice is at. So you can look around and choose, or also go online. If you listen to my podcasts on the Be Here Now network for free, there's 50 or 75 of them there. There are 5 or 10 on our dzogchen.org website. Check it out. That's part of studying. As a practitioner, what is the best way to help my loved ones manage their cabin fever? Well, first of all, we could be outside today and do things. Like I said, the kids next door had set up on the front lawn in the sun a fake lemonade stand and a children's kitchen and a few chairs for the adults and a children's table on the side. And I thought, oh, what a great cartoon. Your wife, your mate could be sitting at the table, and you practicing social spaciousness could be sitting 6 feet away, almost on the floor at the children's table. I think that's funny. Come on. Where do you think the jokes come from? We have to make them up. There's another one that I've been working on with Judy Ricci. It has something to do with mindfulness and the Buddha having like mindful, herbs and all coming out from him while he's meditating, and each of the herbs and it says something like Panacean mindfulness. It's natural and organic anyway, and low calories, no carbs. Jeff, do you have a question or two? They're probably pouring into your desk right now. Jeff and I, we've retired. We used to be Click and Clack on the NPR radio station that emanated from here in Harvard Square. Jeff worked in Harvard Square for 11 years. I don't know, Jeff, were you a partner at Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe, Click and Clack's law office? Or were you doing some Tibetan Buddhist research center, endless digitization and things?
Yeah, I was a client of the Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe.
Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. Yeah,
Lama,
me too.
we have someone saying, I'm struggling with intense feelings towards Trump, and the only way I can access my compassion is to think of the karma he is accumulating. Can you address these feelings of near hate towards my enemy? In parentheses, in quotes.
Well, I don't hate anybody. And when the teachings say the enemy or the difficulty can be your best friend, it doesn't mean you necessarily have to have lifelong feuds, hatreds, and vendettas, or centuries long, like some of the Highland clans or people in other stressed parts of the world, like the Holy Land, the Western Holy Land, Israel, Palestine, or in the border of Northern Southern Ireland, and these kind of continual flashpoints. Afghanistan, so strategically located, bombed to smithereens in recent decades, including by us. I think it's very helpful to keep in mind exactly what you said, which I could barely remember now. Jeff, what was it? I lost track of the question. I'm losing my memory, folks. This might be the last supper here.
Can you address these feelings of near hate in quotes towards an enemy in quotes?
Right. Thank you. Yeah. So I was saying, but we use the word enemy just to make it. Remember, also this teaching is coming from like the 9th and 10th century in India, so we didn't have all of the politically correct niceties, in those old sort of fire and brimstone sermons that the clerics and priests and leaders of all religions like to give to move the unlearned populace, that weren't getting to the philosophical points about no separate self or emptiness. You answered it yourself by asking this. When we think of the karma, even if somebody who hits us, harms us, steals from us, just like Jesus said, if somebody takes your coat, give me your shirt too, or turn the other cheek. These universal teachings of not responding in unkind, as I like to say, not responding in unkind to somebody's unkindness. But how? That's the question, not just hearing the wise maxims. I think, again, that's where we bring awareness to bear in the present moment. Aware of that feeling of hate, anger, rage, resentment, the unfairness and injustice of it all, or whatever we think about our president. I have my own nickname for him, Agent Orange, but some of you are not old enough to know what I'm talking about from the Vietnam era of napalm. Of course, referring to his coiffure. But orange is the new black, so what the hell? Maybe he'll experience some prejudice and discrimination himself. And when you suffer yourself, it's like getting tenderized, then you start to feel what others are feeling more. So it ain't that bad. But this too shall pass. Of course, we all need to vote and do what we need to do, next year regarding the presidency, which you hinted at by mentioning his name. I think it's very important to consider that he's just like other beings, and whatever karma he's making, he will get back. Meanwhile, try to, consider the dangers or the harm that he's doing or can be done with his policies to the environment, to social services, to international treaties. to economic injustice, to the unfair distribution of wealth and power in our country and our world, and so on. And that includes us being more savvy about it and doing our part, like low carbon footprint and, you know, not littering and other responsible things we can do. Again, the power of one. But let me tell you a story, and I've told this before. My late friend who just died in January, Baba Ram Dass, peacefully at his house in Hawaii, in Maui. He, at the age of 88 and a half, the spiritual pioneer Ram Dass, you can look up his books like How Can I Help, Be Here Now, wonderful books. And the Love, Serve, Remember website and podcasts, many podcasts on the Be Here Now network of Ram Dass, free for the picking, from his 60-year teaching career, 65-year teaching career. Unbelievable pioneer of Western spirituality. We're going to miss him. When we were in India and Nixon was being impeached or something, and Robert McNamara maybe was still the head of the Secretary of Defense, secret bombings in Vietnam and Cambodia, things like that. Ram Dass had a picture of Nixon, or maybe it was McNamara, on his altar, his little cardboard box covered with Indian cloth altar that we had in our ashram that he had in his room, to remind, amidst other saints and sages, his guru and Buddha and Ramana Maharshi and Ma and so on. Anandamayi Ma and so on. Christ, he's a real eclectic. He put a picture of his so-called enemy, the one that sort of embodied what he hated the most, in there to help him remember that that person too suffers and will die, and, you know, had a certain upbringing of nature and nurture, his karma and conditioning, and what he made of it, how he played the hand that he was dealt in life. And it helped Ram Dass to even out his intense feelings of hatred, anger, and resentment, as he would be the first to say. So maybe you could put a picture of the archetype in your mind of evil. And let's face it, there are more evil archetypes one could have there, like Hitler or Idi Amin or somebody. But maybe you know who it should be already, the one that makes you have hatred. And just remember that anger, if you're aware of it in a moment, doesn't have to flare up and become a whole chain of discursivity and resentment and, you know, perseveration, rumination, chewing your cud about everything that's wrong with the world and how certain people seem to be doing it wrong. And try to right our own ship. Right your own ship and learn how to be resilient and sail and surf with whatever the waves bring. And when you become right and clearer, the whole world becomes clearer and right in some way. And there's still plenty to do, no doubt, to remove the suffering of others and contribute. Meanwhile, we're achieving or refining our own spirit and realizing inner peace and contentment, resilience and compassion and action, more long-term ourselves, which can only help us and all of our relations, near and far, in the world. So put a picture of him on a place where you have like maybe an altar, or you have your parents and family pictures or something. And don't worry about him affecting everybody. I think we're all exposed already to this thing. And it's a matter of taking care of ourselves now and each other and doing this together. So good luck with that. Jeff, do we have another good question? I see our time is pretty much up. I do.
Wrapping up. Yeah.
Anything from today? Anything current?
Yeah, a nice practice question. What is the relationship between sensitivity and awareness?
That's a good question. Of course, it depends entirely on how you define terms. And Buddhism is 1/3 of the Buddhist canon for 2,600 years has been Buddhist psycho-philosophy, Buddhist psychology, Abhidharma. So Buddhism thinks a lot about this and has refined it over centuries and millennia. You know, it's older than Christianity, Islam, etc. Not Judaism, by the way. But age is no guarantor of wisdom, as we can see around us. I think that, we like to, I just lost the question again, Jeff. Sorry, tell me.
What's the relationship between sensitivity and awareness?
Oh, right. So if we were going to study these things, we have to define terms, attention, mindfulness, awareness, alertness, lucidity, knowing, cognizance, thinking, awareness, self-awareness, various terms we could define. Most people say, what's the difference between mindfulness and awareness? Well, you could look into that. That's a good question. What's the difference between mind and Buddha mind or spirit or big mind, Rigpa, Dharmakaya? So these are good questions we could learn about and look into another time or read or ask about. But sensitivity, in my view, in current parlance, as I understand it, it just means like some people are more sensitive or less sensitive, perhaps. Some have a thicker skin, some have more resilience, some more emotionally labile, fluctuating than others. So there are different kind of personalities. There are different people on different, ways of measuring personality charts, like the 9 types on the Enneagram or the 12 signs. Each have different ways that they tend. The something Hoffman process is a great way to look at it, and it has 4 or 6 categories. You can see, just think about introvert and extrovert is a good one. And you can see some people are naturally more social or turned inside out, and others are more internal and, like to solitary pursuits or philosophize and think about the experiences. Other people are more physical. They learn by doing, which we all want to be doing. Learn, gain the wisdom of experience, not just rush, hurry on from one thing to the next, like people on a treadmill, staggering forward under the momentum of conditioning. But be able to step off for some moments or some time and consider what we're doing and why and how we might repurpose or retrench or mission correct ourselves in the intentional or priority direction. What if we choose as a priority or direction? So I'd say sensitivity may be a little more refined or subtle aspect, or like one facet of the jewel of awareness. Just like equanimity is another facet of the jewel of awareness. So you could be equanimous about the things that you sense or you're sensitized to. And some people are oversensitized. Some people are undersensitized. You can get numbed out and then not be sensitive at all or dissociate, not healthy. But you can also be oversensitized and walk around like as if you're without a skin. Maybe that's too sensitive. We need to do something to rebalance that. So I think awareness is a more overall, overarching term for consciousness, conscious awareness, but awareness is deeper. Like there's also some awareness in the unconscious state or in the coma state or in dream state. So awareness is a very big and rich term, and sensitivity is a certain part of it and an important part in life. So I think we'll end here. I want to say a prayer and a benediction and also mention my upcoming virtual events that the Dzogchen Foundation is producing for us to get together. Wednesday, March 25th. Wednesday, March 25th from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be leading our Dzogchen Center's bi-monthly virtual Sangha. This is a wonderful opportunity to practice in a group-like session from the comfort of your home. It'll be somewhat like tonight. This Zoom link is posted on the Dzogchen Center website, dzogchen.org, www.dzogchen.org. That's Wednesday, March 25th. Thursday, April 2nd, doing something like that from 7 to 8, leading a live stream free practice session through Tricycle Magazine. Register there, get Zoom link. Thursday the 2nd through Tricycle. This is all on our Dzogchen website, I assume, under events or activities, programs. Sunday, April 19th, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, a 2-hour workshop with Tibet House via Zoom, because we canceled our Tibet House weekend because of the pandemic. It's called Advanced Meditation and Tibetan Mindfulness. You might want to look into that. I know mindfulness is a well-trodden subject, but the Tibetan mindfulness and the 6 kinds of mindfulness, etc., has hardly been explored. Go to tibethouse.us and click on programs and events to register and get the Zoom link. And Saturday, June 13th, Sunday, June 14th, a 2-day workshop in Infinity Foundation, Chicago, tapping into infinite source. If it's not canceled, if it is canceled, we'll do it online. You can go to infinityfoundation.org to register. So join us this Wednesday. And next Sunday also here at this time, we're going to continue with these Sunday town hall meditations. Meditation town hall, getting together, being together, virtually walking together this great path of awakening in this marvelous life, one day, one moment at a time. It's now or never, as always. American Buddhas, awaken. Open your blue eyes. Blue is an orange. Throw off your chains, your namtos, your discursivity, neurosis. American Buddhas, awaken. Awaken the world, awaken oneself. May all beings everywhere with who we are inseparably interconnected may all be awakened, liberated, healed, and free. May there be peace and contentment and security and safety in this world and throughout all possible universes. And may we all together complete this joyous and meaningful spiritual journey. One satsang, one sangha, one beloved community, one family, one mandala, one samaya, inseparable, interdependent interbeing. Love comes through loving. Let's love ourselves and each other. Imaho. I love all of you. Thank you for coming and joining in this and contributing, and for meditating, co-meditating, chanting, praying together. See you again next Sunday, same time, same place. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Love to one and all. Thank you, Jeff and the board of the foundation for putting this all together, and Julie Barker. Much appreciated. And to the whole Sangha. Love to one and all.
Thank you.